Good evening, everybody. We are here for the LACE meeting for the month of April. It's in May agenda. It's tricky. It's April. We're here for LACE. Let's get started quickly. So we have a shorter agenda today. We have a shorter time to get everything in, so we're going to try to get as much done as we can. Luckily, our first item up is our delegate assembly handbook discussion, and the last two delegate assemblies, there were 15 resolutions, maybe it was a lot. This time we have is it 3 now? Because the resolution committee, when we met, there had been 4, but maybe one was removed.
One was dropped, there's 1, 2, and 4.
Okay, so then,
So 3
was
minutes,
dropped.
3 had to be dropped.
So
yeah.
it should be hopefully a shorter discussion here and then a shorter time there for you.
That's what I wanted to ask you before we even went into that is, we're gonna discuss it here, do I need to discuss it at the full board? Also, because I want people to know here how I'm voting, because actually the 3 that are there, NJSBA is pushing them forward.
Right.
So, it would be moot to repeat it again if they're doing it, you know? It's
Right,
up to
so
you.
essentially, I'll put this in my committee report, and then if anybody has any concerns,
Okay.
they can bring it up.
So not to repeat,
At the
we'll get
meeting, but we
permission
don't
here
think-
to vote.
What I did when I was doing that was, I gathered the, information and the feedback from the board members as well as from the administration to see if there were any resolutions that didn't really align with what we wanted as a district.
Yeah,
But these aren't,
No.
they're not as significant as some of the
they
ones
are
in the
not,
past.
they're not.
So I don't really think you should have that problem.
Nope.
If, as for, I guess, my fellow board members, if you get a chance to look through it, there is some other good information in there about, what some of the other NJSBA, committees
Right.
have been doing. I serve on the legislative committee. I also want to, congratulate Ms. Payne. She was, renominated for her Middlesex County role.
Reelected.
Oh, really?
I got it, yeah.
Oh, I thought that was on May 21st.
Well, I get, well, I was,
Is the official?
I got, that's the official May, but I did get reelected
Right.
as the vice president.
Yeah, so congratulations on that.
Plus, I'm getting an award for over 20 years' experience as a Board of Ed member.
Awesome.
And these 2 ladies are getting awards that night too.
Yes. So it'll be
Their
a nice time.
certifications and master, yeah.
Yeah, master. My third master's. No.
The 3rd masters, yes.
Anyhow, so to the delegate handbook, and so the first resolution is on page, I don't have it, I can get it real quick. It's on page 61 on the handbook, so it might look different for the PDF. So it's page, is this right?
It's Woodbury's, is that Woodbury's board now?
Yeah, okay, so it says that it's page 61 in the handbook, it's page 66 of the PDF file, if that helps. And so the synopsis was, they want to propose new policy language that will promote student participation in interscholastic esports activities and encourages local boards to award varsity letters for such participation. And Ms. Payne, I know you had said you had, I think you had mentioned it, look through them to see if they
I
were
went through
supporting
them all
that.
to see if they were supporting or not, and then NJSBA is supporting that.
Mhm. Right.
After I had asked Alexa what an e-sport was.
I the convention, I went to a couple of esports.
Did you?
Cool, it's
It's
not
exciting.
like
It's
video
pretty cool.
games.
Is it?
Like,
Yeah.
I think it's video games.
Very
Oh,
interactive.
wait.
Yeah,
It's like a VR,
Um,
or is it like on a
so-
big screen?
it's esports, they're playing games, but
Is it
they're
like
playing, it's a lot of interacting, team building. They don't just sit and video game, they like stretch. They have a whole program of like health and wellness and like mental breaks, and they don't encourage the kids to just go home and play video games, but they have like that certain time. And there's different games that they play depending on the age, but it's actually pretty cool for some of the kids who are not maybe into traditional.
Is this something,
Do they, oh, I'm sorry.
I was just asking if this is something we have in our.
So-
district.
So is it-
Yeah,
so we don't have a formal.
We don't
esports
formal, but we do
program.
have something like it.
We definitely have, competitive, like computer clubs, after-school activities. It's on our radar. It's also on NJSAA's radar in terms of
Yes.
developing as a formal, formal recognized sport. So I think it's, something that we, and I know you have a passion for it as well.
Mhm.
We definitely C, it's an opportunity to meet the needs of your student that may not fall under the umbrella of a traditional outdoor athletic kind of program. But many of those students excel in sports as well. So, but it's another door to open up a opportunity for a student. There's an infrastructure piece that goes to it, the technologically kind of foundation, I guess. I know East Brunswick had with their high school referendum proposal, an entire like esports, virtual like classroom or something like that would be used in the community and stuff. So there's definitely a movement to include that. We will get there.
Yes.
It's not, like, it's
yeah.
like, you're ready, like, it's definitely
Yeah.
one of those like up and coming things
Yeah.
that kind of sort of be in the back of everybody's mind, but yeah.
We started looking at it even, not just with this current board, but we were on the other board, previous board president, it was something that we also looked at. We got a presentation at one of the school board associations, we did go to the presentation. Zach, were you with me?
I went to,
Yeah, it wasn't this time, it was when, it was the time before.
I was at, I think that was 2 sessions.
Maybe it was 2 sessions ago. So there is a lot of, I do think what Dr. Lehman has said is true. I think it's something that is just,
We didn't even look at quotes.
it's just, yes, we
Yeah,
did.
so
It's very naturally, something we're looking at, we were very diligent to not add any new programs. We're not going out for another question. It was something that we made a commitment to doing. So as we continue to look through a funding source,
So
what it would
likely-
look like.
Landing spot is probably going to be an MTSDES.
It's like-
And that is probably at this point, I'm probably have to try to find a private sponsor, probably likely the way this thing will happen. And that's why we went as far as to look at. There are a couple things challenging with that. One, it would be tough to install a program in the school. Right, so you'd have to try to I saw the lab with Old Bridge. They retconned an old computer lab into an esports center
It
maybe.
could have, yeah. I was thinking East Brunswick. 'Cause they
Maybe
had-
like East
Well,
Brunswick.
they-
I saw the photos of the company that did, I mean, that was a good idea in my mind, but
So this is more for the younger grades?
No. It's going all the way.
There's also a governing body, Garden State Esports.
Yep.
and they have
Yes.
information.
They're the ones that actually, I went to one of
I
their,
think that's.
that's what we went to.
There's some minimum requirements where you could at least play some of the games. There's certain games.
Hamilton is a great case study. And I don't know where they're at right now. But a couple years ago, when we were looking at this, they had a pretty wide, and they did a large business, obviously. So, I don't know if they were able to sustain it though.
Can I ask a question about it though? I mean, we're considering it an e-sport, and of course, didn't know too much till I read through it. Is it
Yeah.
interactive with another district?
Can I give you the best example?
Like
Where I
if,
think
say,
it
if
is-
somebody's here in Monroe and they're competing against somebody in East Brunswick or Old Bridge, is that considered the
Yes.
e-sport?
So
Okay, that's what I
let's-
wanted to
So
know.
here's what I was looking at. So let's talk about golf. Monroe Township High School golf team could compete against a team from Catalina Island, California.
Online.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah,
meant.
so you could have a gym match.
Right, yeah.
sport.
Yes.
So that would be one example. Another example would be traditional game. They do have traditional gaming competition that, you would think competitive video games would be.
Right.
So it does scale.
Like,
So I'm,
the Rocket League.
Yeah, so it
Yes,
scales
that's what I was
from,
with too.
from
Soccer,
Yes,
curriculum.
Oh, okay, so it's all kind of.
But it's not like shoot 'em up games.
Right, yeah, and it's not like that Minecraft and all, I know my,
No.
my grandkids are in the
They love
Minecraft. That's the extent that I know.
Don't be so quick to.
And Roblox.
To think, Minecraft. Minecraft is one of the most widely adopted video games into STEM and CAD curriculum.
Really?
Yeah.
If they're playing that now?
I
Yeah.
actually learned a lot from the movie.
I know.
Oh,
The best thing that Minecraft does for kids is it teaches them how to use a keyboard and a mouse.
it's supposed to go Saturday morning.
It's-
Yeah, and I know that sounds
Yeah.
ridiculous, but
No,
it's a
but
lot.
One of the first games that my kids use, but like even in kindergarten, like that's like an incentive, like
And there's,
time to play Minecraft and they're like.
Right,
yeah,
because they're
that's-
doing it now, and they each have their own separate keyboards that they use with the games.
and it incentive,
Yeah.
Minecraft incentivizes, players that learn how to code.
My grandson takes.
So that's why.
Takes coding classes. and
But
he's-
you are right, there is a level that we can get, and it's something we should definitely take very
Yeah,
seriously.
definitely.
We'll go back to school boards again, go through it, because it is guarded.
Yeah.
Gotta say.
All right.
Yeah, so I think that would be a good thing to bring it in on a small
Oh, yeah.
level financially,
Yes.
just to start the momentum.
I mean, a possible partnership.
idea.
Correct, correct.
Could it be started in summer?
That's what I was saying, the most likely place to roll it out would be in an after-school
Yes,
setting,
yeah.
but I'd probably have to be here.
All right, I'm gonna move us on because I know we have to do policy at 8:30.
Oh, I like this, sorry, you.
I can't tell you how hard half an hour is for me, but I'm trying. All right, so the next resolution was from Franklin Township, and it was regarding nursing qualifications. And it looks like the school board said they wanted to they believe that the state should modify the existing requirements for a school nurse to consist of an RN certification, 3 additional classes in school-specific operations as determined by the state of New Jersey to be completed within the first 18 months following commencement of employment at a public school. And then all guidelines for continuing education would remain the same. I don't know what the current requirements are for a school nurse.
I think you
so.
need your bachelor's, don't you, to be a head nurse in a school district?
Well, not even a head nurse.
That needs to be just to be a nurse.
A nurse.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that is correct, I mean, we can double check it, but you can't just.
Well, I see.
being a
So
nurse.
No, and you have to take classes in order to be a school nurse.
Correct.
Certification is only obtained with an associate's degree.
Correct, right, you can.
Compared to a school nurse, which requires a bachelor's
Right,
degree.
yes, yes.
So what they're doing is, I'm gonna say this, I won't be politically correct, I'm just gonna say it, they're lowering the standards.
Yes.
Mhm.
yes.
I don't mean disrespectfully, they're just saying
No.
that you need to have an RN and then take the
Because of
3
the lack of nurses.
classes, whereas where in this particular position, you can't even hire them unless they have a
Right.
bachelor's.
Right.
Right.
So, just for
And-
clarification to the public.
And this is Franklin Township, Warren County,
Yeah.
not here.
There's 2.
Right, so there's one right here,
I
right?
think there's 2 Monroe.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right, sounds good. And then the third resolution was removed, so now it's technically resolution 4.
Right.
Which they are also moving forward, which is regarding, students should be permitted a limited number of state excused absences for participation in activities related to pursuing a skilled trade post-graduation. So I guess going out and doing hours with, a different company that they're interested in.
Almost like internships, so you would say that in addition to
Yes.
whatever certain holidays are granted, you could say, what, 5, I'm just coming up with a number,
Right,
they
right.
would say, well, that's not a bad idea. I would be a proponent of that, I think the vocational education and looking at the internships.
Maybe you want to read on what it says, the resolution.
Oh, sure, I just did the.
And then you just
recommendation.
did
Do you want-
yeah, no, but I'm saying, under the synopsis, it still says, the resolution indicates that entry into these trades by high school students is paramount to the continuation of a
Yeah.
diverse,
I agree.
independent, and self-reliant society. As such, students should have the opportunity to complete these requirements without the fear of violating local school attendance
Got it.
and graduation requirements. And I think that's necessary for all of us to know.
I was looking at the end of it, so I.
Yeah, no, and I believe, and that's what got me, I thought that was great, because
I
we're
think it's
trying
great,
to
too.
the trades,
I
and,
think it's great, so I think
not
the
giving
trades are
them
very
any
valuable.
kind of, problem with going out and maybe interning in an electrical
So
contractor.
my question, because we've tried this, and I don't, I guess this is where the disconnect is, because this was a chart we've been asked to do for years now.
Right.
However, every time we brought people in, they're from the trades and even the locals, they won't touch our students because they're of their age.
Underage?
Yeah.
Would that be 18, don't it?
So,
Yeah.
well, yeah, what this is,
They
what I
give
say,
me
this is, so there's a handful of state attendance
Yes.
exemptions.
Yeah.
One of them is college,
And,
Right,
pre-visits. I believe this is
yes,
the flip side of that.
yes.
You're not gonna
Parallel,
college.
so you could visit trade schools, you could do a day of,
I see.
like shadowing it.
Or the
Yeah.
reciprocity for-
Right, yes.
Yeah, what it says is that they want to support the attendance regulations should include, state excused absences for students who are completing steps necessary to enter the skills trades profession.
Right.
Could be a day of
So
test.
like, if they're,
could
if
be.
they, right, I guess it's not included now, but it should, and it absolutely should be. If
It
these
should
students
be.
are looking to pursue
100%.
a
Right, no, like if you're gonna be an apprentice for a plumber, there are certain preliminary exams, let's say, like going for the motor vehicle, right? That's excused,
Right.
just for example. But I do agree, because I think what you said is so key. What happens if a child is not college bound. They're gonna go to a technical school, but they need to go and view it, or maybe they have a relative, an uncle, a
Right.
very good friend, a neighbor who says, you know what? Because you're right, a lot of them are concerned about
Well,
the
'cause we
age.
tried setting that up with
But they-
local.
But maybe it wouldn't be that way. Maybe someone says, you know what, I'm taking the day off. Here's the letterhead of where my neighbor works, and they said I could just shadow them for the day. It should
I
be.
misunderstood. I thought they were
No,
directing
no,
us to.
no,
No.
It's basically,
It's just attendance.
Giving them the leeway to have the same absence we would give to something else without the fear of.
Yeah, that's all.
I can just ask eighth grade parent here, two of us. So when they get to the high school, I know that like there's obviously state excused absences aside from like being ill. If you miss
Being
days.
ill, though, is really nice to choose absences.
Right, like, in addition to like illness absences and things of that nature, but I know in order to receive credit, you have to be in the class for a certain amount of days.
Yeah, credit cushion.
Does this,
That's exactly what I mean.
but does that mean that like, so if you have to be there for 80 days and you spend 5 days doing this,
It counts.
it counts as
Counts,
five
correct.
5 days towards an 80
Yes.
days? I'm just making.
You're not in it, it's as if you were there.
Okay,
Yeah.
As if you were there.
they're calling these state excused.
State excuse, right.
okay.
It's only, so the credit completion comes into play when they're unexcused.
Right.
So like illnesses, if you show proof, those are excused as well, or?
Well, that's,
Those are well, there's a local attendance policy.
and a state
and a
attendance.
state attendance.
You want to be
State
technical?
attendance is what we report,
Okay,
and that is something that is the same for every school district, so they can get consistent comparative attendance numbers across the state. Every district then can have some tweaks at a local level.
okay,
So the local level is what we use towards graduation and things
Right.
like that. So,
Okay.
The state has their standard, again, so they can compare us all to other districts on an equal playing field.
Mhm.
And then each district can look at their uniqueness, and there may be districts that have certain uniquenesses that they want to. Everybody adds onto this list. This list is very basic.
Yep, right.
So,
All right, sounds good. Let's move on to our next agenda item. I had put a review of, some recent legislative actions. I put the link, they just came out with the, Capital Watch, which is their new newsletter at school boards to sort of update us on movement on different bills. And I also had attached, what I had gotten from the governmental relations team for the legislative committee for them. We have another meeting in May, so what is attached is a little bit old. It's just the last one that I got, so I figured I'd share it because I think it was after our last committee meeting, so I still hadn't had that. But, really quick, just looking at the Capital Watch, I just sort of tried to look at any of the bills that they could either very much affect us or that they have been signed into law, so therefore we have to follow it. I know there had been discussion. The first one that was listed on this website is S4136, which was signed by the governor, which basically says we are allowed to continue utilizing newspapers for public notices, because at one point they were going to remove that requirement. I don't want to read through all of these. I don't know. There is, I think one important one is the school funding, which is S3917, which was Senator Gopal's changes to the school funding law. I had checked on it, I believe, over the weekend, and there hadn't been any movement. So if there was any movement this week, I'm not sure. But other than that, it's still sort of stuck where it was when we discussed it a few months ago, which is good and bad because there were definitely things in there like, they need a little tweaking, but I'm glad to see there's something.
They have a little bit more time now that budget season is
Yes. But,
almost.
right, hopefully it doesn't get to that point where they wait till
should have it ready for
January.
next year.
They're tweaking quite a bit right now, so they can get this ready, like you said.
Right.
And the other one I wrote, and I didn't write next to it, was S3118. Can you look that one up?
Yeah, it's right here. It's,
Okay.
so it was approved by the Senate Education Committee. It provides that regional school districts
That's what I,
are not subject to state aid reductions under certain circumstances.
yes. And I caught that one, because the other ones were very minuscule. I mean, there was some that are really were like out there. And they were like things that you would do every day anyway.
Yeah.
But that one hit me when it said, when you regionalize, depending, state aid would not be cut. So I was curious about that.
So I wonder if what they mean by that, and I can look up the bill to do
Yeah.
a little more research.
Yeah,
So for example, there's the Freehold Regional High School District,
That's right.
which is under Senator Gopal's district. And that's 6 different townships, 6 different high schools. I don't know if they mean a district like that or if they're,
Or like K through 12 or K through 12.
right, well,
yeah.
or they mean like, if like, we've discussed, the potential merging with
With
Jamesburg before. If they mean that if we were to merge, then we would be considered a regional district.
And therefore, the monies that perhaps Jamesburg gets that would perhaps could be ours,
Would not,
regionalized, would not be removed because of
That's
our,
right.
more of our wealth.
And that's what I
understood it as.
Because you also have Milltown goes to Spotswood.
Yeah.
You know, you have so many districts that really, regionalize, and whether they know that they can,
Right,
that was of interest to me, so.
yeah. So maybe I'll make a note to look into it a
Yeah,
little more
I'm
for
gonna
our
look into it too.
June meeting, May? Yeah.
We don't have it made.
So June meeting.
3118.
3118. All right, is there anything else on here that anyone saw that they felt, needs to be discussed? A lot of it was like, creating different days to honor people
Yes.
and all of that, which, I obviously support, but,
No, everything I looked at, these two stuck out to me the most, so.
oh, actually, here's one that's interesting that was signed by the governor on March 31st, S1548, that requires districts to adopt policies concerning student use of sunscreen.
Oh, I did see
Well,
that.
I saw that, yes. I was like,
Do
okay.
we have that policy regarding that?
We don't have a policy with sunscreen. I think what it always comes down to is the responsibility of application
On the
or
parent.
not application, right? And it's
Is the parent.
Parents, so we said-
They're not apply sunscreen.
right. So then what happens on a field day when it needs to be reapplied and who assumes that responsibility? I'm sure it has some sort of
Yeah.
complication and stuff, so.
Yeah.
It really only applies on field day. Field day's the biggest.
And I
day for
think
sunscreen.
the teachers don't wear it either on field day.
They don't apply it, that's for sure.
I know, my son had, his head is, he's bald, so every day when he goes out for his head gets on sunburn. I said, did you put it on? No. How do you tell 30?
And so then just the only other one that I feel like we should keep an eye on, I don't think there's been movement on this yet either, was the cell phone bill.
Yes.
Yes, oh, that's
It
right.
doesn't look like there's been movement since.
And,
What about
like we said, we're very pleased because we know that at the high school level,
Yeah.
without any requirements from the state, went ahead and started looking at utilizing the
The pouches.
pouches. Middle school and I guess elementary have very strict policy where you should be off, you should not be seen.
Right.
And so forth. So we're not really that concerned if that's something they make us
Well, you
do.
know what, would be, only to me would be fiscally, because I know Senator Gopal said anything mandated, he was gonna.
Well, we already paid for patches. Can we give them the receipt?
That's what I'm saying, hold the receipt, and I would do retro,
Yeah.
a retro, and see if we can get some retro money back. You never know.
Gail, the number was S3695 and A4882.
Thank you.
All right, just real quick, the last thing on the agenda, is just about, community engagement. So the first thing that I put on there was, social media update. I know that there had been discussion last week, and I'd spoken briefly with Mr. Meralda about how we're utilizing social media and Blackboard Connect in order to communicate. And so I just figured a minute or two about like what we're doing.
So one of the things that we think are important, I got some very nice compliments from parents that appreciated some of my Blackboard Connects, which we then in turn, put on our social media sites. So we want, we try to acknowledge all the I try very hard to acknowledge all the major holidays.
And there's more coming, because
And
there's gonna be more days.
There's more coming. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There's one in June 2nd or 3rd, I have, you're off in East Brunswick, so I have my grandson.
Six, I think it is.
Is
Oh,
it Eid Mubarak?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, and we do it, So I did Yom HaShoah, which I got very nice emails from parents. Because it was very important to acknowledge, and that's based upon Holocaust Remembrance Day. We wanted to acknowledge Earth and Arbor Day because it is our earth, and we planted trees, which we did. Some of you were able to come. I know that, you happened to be able to come, and I know that,
Right, Ms. Alvarez.
Ms. Alvarez was able to be there as well. We will continue to the best of our ability to continue to do that. We love to involve the children. It's a great opportunity. The Arbor Day, so I've now experienced three. So, right, last year it was at Oak Tree, the year before it was at Woodland, this year it was at Applegoss. And it's a great opportunity. And I always say, and I'm gonna give a shout out, I don't have his name, but the Master Gardener, I believe that is his title,
Tree Commission.
Shade Tree Commission.
Oh, he was great.
He's a teacher.
Oh,
No, he's not.
Oh,
I said, you are a born teacher. And I go, you probably don't remember. He goes, no, you said it to me last year.
when you said that, I was like, oh, it makes sense now.
Well, you know what, you don't gonna talk to kids.
He's fantastic, and the kids all got a plan, and, when you really think about it, You know, John Dewey always said you learn by doing, right? He believes always learn by doing. The kids get involved. And I think it's so important because we're so heavily involved in technology. We're always looking at technology. We're always talking about technology. What a better way than to have children buy in to the understanding of what the trees give us, something, whether it be arbor or a tree. So what we're kind of trying to do now is we're trying to take, we call it blackboard, it's really not, but we still call it blackboard. It's not really blackboard anymore, is it?
I think it's still called Blackboard.
Is
It's
it?
gonna be transitioning to messages at
Messages,
XR.
that's all, right?
Hopefully middle of the summer, that was our last update. They delayed their rollout as a company,
I'm
so
waiting for that.
we're,
So I still call it blackboard. So
hopefully it's over the summer, they're gonna do
right,
that.
and we have lots of holidays, and, you know, if, we try very hard to acknowledge the holidays and acknowledge also the ideals of what it means, whether it be Martin Luther King Jr. Day or, you know, President's Day, whatever the event might be, we're really trying to work hard, and we try when possible. I mean, let's be honest, we're Monroe Township, Jamesburg, we love Halloween. I mean, people get their costumes down. I mean,
It's
now, I mean,
it's actually
we're
kind
paying
of funny
Halloween people.
when you listen to.
No, this township is huge. I know Jamesburg as well.
Goes to social media
Uh-huh.
and what doesn't. There's actually more to that discussion than you
Oh,
think.
probably.
So social media can be very challenging because if you, like, for example, we have things we have to post,
Right.
right? And then you have, you know, there are events that are queued up weeks in advance to
Mhm.
promote. And then there's breaking news, right? Then you have the holidays and the.
Acknowledgement of
Truck
days,
driver day.
Right.
which I am now acknowledging all of them, by the way.
Yeah, so then it becomes, okay. So what we've kind of unofficially positioned ourselves for on social media are really student-centric
Yep.
coverage.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the test we apply when, all right, so we have this play.
Right.
Right? We know we gotta promote it on Thursday night. We don't want it to get pushed down by a meeting notification or something else. Do we sit on this post for, like, it's literally like I'll have a release, time, but then sometimes something will happen and it'll usurp that cue.
Right.
Blackboard Connect, we feel a little bit more comfortable spamming. For lack of better, not that, we don't spam.
Then, yeah, of course.
You know, so Dr. Chanley can convey a message, whether it's targeted or to the entire district. Whereas Facebook and social media, we try to keep more media head. And I, for a variety of reasons, we would prefer the public not to go to Facebook and social media for their information. For coverage and maybe some celebratory stuff, yeah. Or for, opinion, that's fine. But when it comes to, you know, reporting on the district, we try to keep that exclusively to students, and then like when we honor a teacher for some reason. My sister used to yell at me because she sent a picture, oh, look, we had a grade level meeting, all the teachers saying, they put it on Facebook, I'm like, no. There's no kids in the picture, I don't want any of that. I don't see that. Like, obviously, I'm sure their parents want to see it, but like, you know, that, and I joke around, even with the athletics and the band stuff, and we try to keep it student centric, but Blackboard is where we like to deliver maybe a little heavier messages, more thoughtful.
Thoughtful, I think that's a good word.
You can't put pictures of the kids on Facebook.
You
Yes,
can,
yes,
yeah,
you can.
policy.
Well, photo release,
Yeah.
yes.
They all have to do it at the beginning of
Because
the
a
year.
friend of mine has a little grandson and her daughter refuses for the
Right.
file to be seen.
You ever
So
see
they
that?
put a little, yes, they put a little thing up, so, oh, okay.
I won't even, to be honest with you,
We don't even do that.
I won't even.
We try that, so.
Yeah.
So what
You know, because I'm almost like, oh, who's everyone?
Yeah.
Right, what they do is everyone has to sign at the beginning of the year, and then the
Yes.
teacher provide any pictures they have to check to make sure that there's none,
Right.
said, please do not put my child's picture
Is
on.
there any way that we can, I know there's so many holidays that when you send out the calendar on certain holidays, can you explain what the holiday is? Because I mean, East Brunswick has so many
It is,
amazing
what
holidays.
will be,
I
it
don't
is
know what
so
it is.
difficult. Prior to me, the prior superintendent before me didn't even put what the holiday was. They were.
Oh, we have days off and.
Days off.
So just that day.
I was very passionate that we should put the
You know,
holiday.
there are many media trainers that tell you
Yeah, so we do what?
to be vague and not.
I will, she, I have to give a shout out to Miss Giovanella. She actually fits Holocaust Remembrance Day. Don't ask me how. We try to be very respectful of the holidays because there's two different ones. We want to make sure we spell it correctly.
Right, yes.
So on our calendar, we're very respectful and we provide a lot of information, but we don't do an
Yeah, I've got it
explanation.
at home. Yeah.
So what we do is, but prior to me, and who knows, after me, with the different superintendent, they might go back to having no, they used to
No,
say no
no,
school.
I think the more the better, because
Yeah.
you know what?
Then you have more.
Everybody, we get more educated.
Oh,
Because, you know,
100%.
I'm Catholic, and when I was raised Catholic, I only know certain holidays. And then when my kids went to public school, and they were invited to a bar mitzvah, and they were invited to this and that, and I learned all these different things and all these different religious holidays, which is, oh, I love learning about people's religions.
Yeah.
So I thought that's so great that we have them all.
So what,
But I had to
we're
ask
trying,
everybody what they were.
yeah.
Some of them I didn't even know what they were. So.
Just, one quick thing I don't know if it's Blackboard, is that also what's used when, I guess, information is sent from principals to,
Yes,
so one thing that I have heard, there's, because there's been some like great communication, but I believe it, we were told it was district protocol, I don't know if it's policy, that everything has to be attached instead of having things in the email, like for, let's say if there's PTO,
Yes.
things like
Yes.
that.
So it's not district it's definitely not policy.
it's not policy.
Okay.
What do we want to make it one?
And I don't actually, I wouldn't consider it protocol. I would say the tool we're using, which again, will be updated, and I just looked back, Mr. Feldman had reached out at the beginning of March, and they say, we appreciate your enthusiasm to start this transition early.
Mm.
However,
Well, we're not ready for you yet. So message it to XR will give us the capability to embed things.
right now
in
you
the
can't,
primary
the
email
school
right
doesn't
now.
allow it.
You either have basically a 12-point Times New Roman font,
Okay.
or,
Like, do you just?
and then
Got
that's
it.
pretty much it.
And
right?
sometimes I'll send that, so what we'll do is, we'll construct a message off of Blackboard. And then we'll vet it, proofread and everything like that, usually. And then we will then try to retcon it into Blackboard, which is like basically typing HTML code.
Yes, I've even asked him, like, I do not go on Facebook, so I've always asked him, can you do it on,
I hate it. I'll say that, I hate
can you
it.
do it on
I'd rather work it out.
Instagram? And he'll say no because of the graphics.
Got it. Yeah, I just know like parents have.
And I
like,
will,
those
and I will
mistakes
say
they don't
that
see.
I have to compliment the principals. Why I have an opportunity, like I gave a shout out to the secretaries, the principals, I have asked them, I am now on everything, because I want to read everything. And the amount of information that's shared in all the different schools is fantastic. I don't recall, and when my children were younger, I didn't live here. I don't recall that same level of connection, collaboration, communication. I think it's excellent, so I think we could shout out. And on that note,
We will do the rest of this, I know, because we haven't heard back from we're still working on Monroe News, and then the impact fee resolution, there's no rush.
Yeah.
We can talk about that next
Yep.
month.
Okay.
So that's everything. Tried my best here. All right, that is everything. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.